Okay, if anybody's curious about it, Trump is probably going to lose at least one of the two states that would make it to where he can't be president. So you need to get over this crap. But let's talk about something goofy. The Department of Homeland Security doesn't produce ballots. Local governments contract with printing companies and make the ballots, and they usually include some sort of security system in it. Uh, the security system is an overt one, including barcode in many cases. In other cases, it can be hard to detect. It's to prevent people from photocopying them. Just like if you look at most $20 bills, if you get a good magnifying glass, you can see words and letters on it. And if you look really closely, you can see constellation dots. These tell photocopiers and scanners to refuse to obey you so that you won't try to photocopy a $20 bill. Yes, I have a bruised nose. That's what it looks like. But anyway, um, but there's a claim going around, and you looked up this video for this reason. And I'm going to repeat this. The Department of Homeland Security doesn't produce ballots. They're not in charge of it. They have no reason to be, because there's too few of them. There are more people monitoring and managing the voting system than actually exist within the Department of Homeland Security, and it doesn't fall under their purview. Someone decided to mix up a bunch of three-letter acronyms, some of them being the alphabet soup boys, to make a meme today. So I now have to shoot this down. I'm going to repeat this again. Donald Trump probably has lost the election because there's a couple of states where it's really close, and all you guys decided to try to prevent people from doing mail-in ballots. Well, they're being counted. So let's go on with this. A blockchain. Some of you know blockchain.com, and there's a copyright to that expression. It's supposed to be blockchain, but the word altogether is, of course, not a copyrightable statement. Well, actually, the word blockchain precedes that, so I can use it. Blockchains are not something mysterious. And a lot of you who think you know what you're doing with Bitcoin or you dabble in it don't know what the fuck a blockchain is. So let's read the Wikipedia definition. I'm going to interpretive dance party it. A growing list of records or blocks that are linked to each other using cryptography. Each block contains a cryptographic hash of the previous block and a timestamp and a transaction code, which they use to communicate back through that. This is resistant to modification of its data because once recorded, the data in any given block can't be altered retroactively without altering all subsequent blocks. This is to show that the data has been altered. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that it's anything mysterious. And if you alter any of it, it destroys the entire chain, which means to destroy a blockchain, you just have to break one part of it because it's a chain. This has nothing to do with what you thought it meant, and you're going to contradict me in the comment sections. I haven't looked into this subject because blockchain got a copyright on it or whatever. I don't do Bitcoin because it's not relevant. But you heard about it in the news, so therefore somebody threw that in there for bullshit reasons. That was done on purpose. These are typically managed by a peer-to-peer network, collectively adhering to a protocol for inter-node communication and validating new blocks. Every time a new block is altered or added, it either has to be added on to the previous block so that they can be done as a set so you can detect tampering, and that's it. That's the mysterious thing you're thinking of. Now let's say you tried to apply this to ballots. Nobody counting ballots looks to see if there's a cryptographic chain from one ballot to another. But okay, let's say there is. How are you linking them? The scanners that they have are optical scanners that are designed to scan overtly what you put on your ballot and get the barcode. It has nothing to do with this. Well, you're just angry because you're a squealing libtard. You're losing an election. Donald Trump isn't a god, and someone is trying desperately to give you something to think about other than maybe going in and attacking people who are just counting ballots. They don't do this because if you're making a claim that this was a blockchain created by the Department of Homeland Security, they would be counting the ballots. And any city and county or state can just decide we're going to make our own ballots because they had to add something like a local election. So if you're saying there's some Uber 4D chess thing done by Donald Trump and the Department of Homeland Security, it would be easily thwarted by them simply needing to update an election, which has happened in most states. But let's continue. Somebody then put the word blockchain and QFS. That's quick file system. It's a databasing system. It's a way of striping hundreds of drives in a network or a database. Again, this has nothing to do with this being on sheets of paper. I want you to understand this. We have something on a hard drive called an index. It's literally like in a book, okay? We no longer use that type of indexing because it's terribly slow. But you could use an indexing system like you do in a book. Okay, now take the book spine and chop it up and throw it all over the place. Now you have to assemble the book, but the index isn't useful. It's the page numbers. File systems on computers are the polar opposite of that. You have to be able to throw it everywhere and have it not give a shit what part of the hard drive it's on, because on a hard drive, they do have to link backwards through the system. And that's what a QFS system works as. Now that would work in this case, right? No, because again, it still has to have an index and a master system. The master system has to be literally updated every millisecond. So you have a bunch of ballots out there, and you're claiming there's some way of detecting tampering. But in order for that to work, you either have to have the paper literally update some database somewhere dynamically, but only the Department of Homeland Security knows this is going on, and Donald Trump, because you believe he's a Vulcan or something that can do 4D chess. If anybody's curious about this channel, I don't have any real qualifications or anything, but I worked as a data recovery person. I'm absolutely fucking aware of somebody throwing together quick file system and blockchain when it wouldn't even apply to anything even related to the subject matter. The next thing, another assertion, this is not part of the main bullshit story. That somebody used a non-radioactive isotope to do the watermark. Okay, and they were being vague about what it was. I'm not even sure if that was really in the original interview on InfoWars or InfoWars, but that doesn't make any sense either. So now we have how many layers of deception going on here? You brought up QFS hoping no one would look up that it's a file system that's simply optimized to be able to update across terabytes of hard drive space. Okay, there's only 300 million people in the United States. We don't need a file system that hardcore. QFS would be singularly unnecessary and slow as fuck, number one. Number two, the assertion that the Department of Homeland Security had something to do with this, but every single county on books has the legal right to just change all the ballots and scrap them and produce new ones. Because they have to do that every once in a while. Every one of you has experienced this. I don't even have to explain that. Next, a watermark using a non-radioactive isotope. Okay, the reason you use radioactive isotopes for watermarking, which is actually done, is because you can detect them because they're fucking radioactive. Precisely what is this about? Next, watch the water. This is a meme that was posted in 2018 from Q, and this is supposed to be an indication that from 2018 forward, 4D chess player Donald Trump had totally put out these documents because, of course, the paper, the security paper, had to have some invisible, non-radioactive QFS, quick file system, blockchain encrypted data on it. But if you tore up one fucking ballot, which a lot of you have claimed, that would break the blockchaining, wouldn't it? Because that's what blockchaining is about. What if somebody simply wiped the sheet of paper with something that altered the pattern? Was it a microprint? Was it a constellation dot pattern? Was it a steganographic information encrypted into the print stamp that says this company was made it? The company that made it will put a print on their paper saying they printed it. Is there a deviation in the line pattern? Is it the kerning? I know of a million ways to encryption on sheets of paper. I was paid money to do this shit. Why am I being told this crap? What? Anyway, this QAnon posting is supposed to have been that 2020 election, Donald Trump made the Department of Homeland Security use a non-radioactive isotope watermark on ballots with a quick file system using blockchain encryption code, or so said, and here we get to the next person, Dr. Steve Peiczniky, I guess is how you pronounce his name. He was a deputy assistant secretary and was a psychiatrist who treated CIA employees at one time. And he worked under 4 presidents. He resigned in 1979. He hasn't been involved in shit for a long time, except as a consultant. In 2020, he did an InfoWars interview with Owen such and such, and he's apparently saying on camera, to be taken seriously, instead of just running you guys through a fucking hilarious joke here, that Donald Trump's DHS watermarked every ballot using a methodology that would literally make it impossible for you to prove you even watermarked it or have it have any effect, because none of these are how you watermark ballots. Okay, let me show you something really, really simple. A lot of you have a cap like this. It might go for soda pop or whatever. And it has a pattern on it that's a sandblasted looking pattern. And then maybe some nice shiny lettering. Okay? Simple. There are hundreds and hundreds of ways subtly altering this that are scannable. I don't know if you know this, but scanners don't track better than 300 dots per inch. And in that amount of space, right there, you could hold about 1,000 bytes of data. That would be plenty of space to hold a hash code to confirm this hasn't been altered. But if you can scan it, you can photocopy it. That's it. That's the end of the discussion. If you make it smaller than that, then it doesn't. And the way you do this is you put really fine writing on something, like a little line that says $20, $20, $20, like you find on a $20 bill or whatever you got. And you make it to where if somebody photocopies it at all, if they make up their own fake ballot, if that's what your claim is, it simply makes it to where you can't look under a microscope and see it. It's extremely difficult to print this. That's why we use it on money. It's not infallible, but it's such a screaming cast iron bitch to do it that it would take a full-scale printing operation, a pretty good amount of work to do this. Now, I'm going to say something on camera that a lot of you don't want to hear, and I don't want to say, but I'm a trained forger. I'm a trained counterfeiter. I'm trained in doing this. This is part of what I was taught to do and part of what I was investigating at one point. I know how to make $50 bills by printing the fucking things. And let me explain this to you. You can't just do it with your photocopy. I mean, you can, but don't do that. You would have to make an offset printing press, and it's a screaming bitch to do it. But it's a lot easier than getting the paper. The way you encrypt the ballots is putting them on secret paper in 2 layers. Well, 3. 2 normal-looking layers, cotton bond, and then on the inside you put some other material so that if you tear it at an edge, it gives you a different pattern. A lot of high-end books use that. It's extremely easy to do, and it's incredibly trackable. Hell, it's like the FBI tracking bullets by the chemical compounds in the goddamn propellant, or the specific isotope of metal. Every bit of lead has a tiny amount of uranium in it. You can figure out which mine it came from. But no. This has to be done using blockchain, which would break, because that's why it's called a chain. It's to detect errors. It's to detect failure. It completely collapses the work entirely if there's a break in it. You have to regenerate. That's the idea behind it. Obviously, blockchain on the internet means something different because it doesn't do that. QFS is just a file system. It's made for super hardcore, large-scale databases primarily, but it can be used for anything you want to. But it's a little bit overkill. The overhead on it alone would cover the entire sheet of paper. And don't even get me started on non-radioactive isotopes. Why the fuck are you even invoking that? If someone wanted to confirm the paper ballots were being forged, they would just look at them. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Please stuff this meme where the sun don't shine.